I'm Greg Sizemore, president of the Construction Users Roundtable, commonly called CURT. We're an organization of primarily industrial owners who together seek to improve the cost effectiveness of their construction projects. We offer three things primarily, and that is perspectives, experiences, and resources, one with the other. If you'd like to learn more about CURT, at the very end of this podcast is our website. It's very easy, curt.org, and also our phone number. But we'd like to welcome you right now to this episode of Construction Connections powered by CURT. This is a series of podcasts where we seek to do a deep dive on those issues which indeed affect the cost effectiveness of our projects. And today we're very happy to have one of my long-term friends and colleagues, Mr. Brent Darnell. Let me tell you a little bit about Brent. Brent is the pioneer in bringing emotional intelligence to our industry. He actually began teaching it in 1999 before the AEC industry ever knew they needed it. In 2012, he was awarded Engineering News Record's Top 25 Newsmaker Award for his record-breaking program that really seeks to transform alpha males into service-focused leaders on projects. In 2017, he won the Volunteer of the Year Award for AGC of Georgia in his work in training in the development arena. He's a third-generation construction guy, which really adds to his authenticity. He actually grew up walking projects like the Plaza Tower in New Orleans with his dad. He's also a mechanical engineer. He graduated from Georgia Tech and spent 18 years managing projects like the Brooke Army Medical Center and housing for athletes at the Olympic Village in Atlanta and so many others. The impact of Brent's unique program spans the globe to, I think, 20 countries, from the United States, Stockholm, Sweden, Copenhagen, Oslo, Cape Town, and on, London, Hong Kong. He's been to all those towns. His clients include some well-recognized names such as Skanska, Balfour Beatty, the McCarthy Group, and so many others. We're very delighted to have him because he has worked so closely at the national level with AEC industry support organizations such as AGC, CURT, of course, the DBIA, and many, many others. He's an adjunct professor at such notable universities as Auburn, Penn State, and Virginia Tech, just to name a few. And he has authored several books. My favorite, frankly, is The People-Profit Connection. We'll be talking about that here in just a short while. Brent has recently developed the world's first online e-learning courses for emotional intelligence and mission-critical skills for our industry. And I'm very delighted to welcome him here with me right now. Brent, welcome to Construction Connections powered by CURT. We're thrilled to have you.
Greg, it's my pleasure as always. It's great to see you. It's great to be a part of this. I always love what you guys at CURT are up to, and this sounds like a really cool deal, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Hey, thanks for taking the time to join us. So, for our listeners and viewers, let's start at the very beginning. Explain to us what emotional intelligence is. Let's just start from the very beginning. What
Okay.
is emotional intelligence? And then share a little bit about your journey into that space.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me tell you what it's not. It's not touchy-feely. It's not singing Kumbaya. It's not group hugs, although that's what many people think it is. Uh, it's just about understanding and managing your own emotions and understanding and managing the emotions of others for the best outcomes and for your own health and well-being. So when you're able to manage those emotional states and help others manage their states, you get a lot of traction from that. Better communication, better relationships, better project outcomes, and from the internal managing those emotions internally, better health and well-being, and being able to manage those stress levels. So,
Those elements are so important in today's workforce.
oh, totally.
They're hard to keep, and in order to make productive, I think EI is absolutely an essential component of their training program. Absolutely.
I agree. And back when I was working for Skanska at it's this big leadership program they had, international program, and we were looking for a different approach because we had used some Swedish military personal leadership thing, which is really quite good, but most people have been through that, and it's kind of a one and done thing. So we looked at all kind of personality tests, and we settled on emotional intelligence because unlike personality test, it can be measured and improved. And also it's a graphical representation of your emotional profile. And so that was really good for us because engineers and technical people and construction folks love numbers and graphs. So that's what we chose. And then I saw how life-changing it could be for some, and so that's where we put our focus. And then after that program was done and I went back to working, you know, in Atlanta for Skanska, I decided this is something that the industry needs. I'm going to just try it. And I quit my job and started my own business back early 2000 and started this journey. And if you think about the industry back in 2000 and the industry now, we've changed. It's much more collaborative, much more relationship driven, much more all the collaborative project delivery like design build, design assist, CM at risk, even lean. Those are highly collaborative processes and approaches to buildings. And so it's a different set of skills. You no longer just have this technical ability, low bid, just get the thing done. It relies on these relationships and all these emotional intelligence competencies to be successful, right?
Yeah, you're so right. I like to say we all work in an industry where no one trusts anybody, and yet it's a relationship focused industry. So something's
Yes.
got to give and something's got to improve. And you came along a quarter of a century ago now with some
Yes.
really good stuff. Uh, who or what was the biggest influence on your shift from working in mechanical engineering to shifting into this emotional intelligence space?
Well, I think I had a mentor. Her name is Kate Cannon. She was doing emotional intelligence work for American Express back in the 80s when like nobody knew about it. And she's my mentor in the emotional intelligence space. But otherwise, I'd have to say my dad. My dad he dropped out in sixth grade. He was the oldest of 10 children, grew up during the Depression, got back from World War II, started as a carpenter, and worked his way up. And he reached super high levels in his career without any education. And I think there's three things that really helped him with that. Number one, he was great with people. He taught me a lot about how to be good with people. Number two, he always said everything will work out all right. So that attitude of, hey, just keep going, things are going to work out, just keep doing your best, work hard. And the third thing he taught me was lifelong learning. He was a lifelong reader, loved to read books. He said he always told us you can learn anything from a book. He was constantly reading, and now I'm a constant reader too. I probably read at least 30, 40, maybe 50 books a year. So
That's quite
um,
prolific. And you write them too.
I've written a couple of books as well. Yes.
Yes, you have. And the people profit connection, if our listeners are interested in doing a deep dive, tell us a little bit about the people profit connection piece and where we can get it.
It's so interesting. I I created this when I did a like an exchange program for Skanska before this leadership program. And when I came back, I created this document about how they do business in Europe and other parts of, the world. And it was sort of a how do you maintain quality? What are the things that go wrong in every project and how do you correct them? What about how the people work? And I got back to Atlanta and everybody looked at it and said, yeah, we don't care. Like those European guys, we don't care what they do. We do things differently here. But that was I look at back on it now, that was sort of the rough draft for the people profit connection. It's how do we work better together? What are the industry issues? And when I started doing the work with emotional intelligence and looking at the typical profiles, it turns out those typical profiles directly relate to the problems we're having in the industry
Can you
with things like,
for
yeah,
that on that? That's a fascinating statement. Say that again. The profiles that you assessed
right.
gave light to some of the problems we're having in the industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the typical profile, say for a superintendent especially, high assertiveness, high independence, lower self-awareness, lower empathy, lower interpersonal relationships, right? High self-regard. So we're these independent, highly confident, very assertive people, sometimes borderline on aggression, but the interpersonals like empathy, social responsibility, the team stuff and the group stuff and relationships always lower. And I thought, wow, that says a lot about how we do teams and things like safety. Um, people with low self-awareness probably don't work as safely, right? And things like stress and burnout, which are rampant right now. That alpha, I can do anything, push through the fatigue is a great thing, but the downside is you get into this burnout and really high stress levels. Things like workforce development. People don't leave uh, an industry, they leave people, they leave bad bosses, they leave these alphas that are driving them so hard without that compassionate and empathy, on the other side of that. So I saw, wow, all of these issues we're having relates to that hard charging alpha, get it done. And see, that's the cool thing. Those are wonderful people. They are your drivers. They're your high performers. They're the people that are getting all that done. Downside is we may be driving people away. We may be marginalizing women and people of color. Not that they're doing it on purpose and they're bad human beings. They're just they just sort of run roughshod over people at times. So we balance those things out in their profile. We work on the empathy and the social responsibility and the relationships. And then those people become your superstars because they can do both. They can drive when they need to drive, but they can be compassionate and empathetic when they need to. They can connect with people. They can have great relationships and communication because they've worked on their emotional competencies.
So, you brought up several good points there. One is that the industry has changed. I think the composition of the worker has changed. The importance of mental well-being or mental health has certainly elevated in recent years as the suicide rates, unfortunately, have come to light. It's one of the
Yeah.
key issues in the construction industry, and moral issues notwithstanding, we have a workforce that's in high demand and it's a high stress environment many times with project costs and schedules and a number of crews on a job site. And so emotional well-being becomes quite important. And unfortunately, suicide has elevated in the construction industry over the many years. Has your profile changed, or how has the EI approach or your approach to emotional intelligence changed, given that valued shift over the last?
Right. Well, I think there's a much bigger focus for me personally. I'm a vital cog mental health trainer. I look at, to me, this isn't a substitute for mental health interventions, but it's certainly a preventative measure. And then once you get through those mental health issues that you're having through meds or counseling or whatever, um, this is a great way to maintain that. So we focus on getting people the tools they need because it is a huge issue. Think about it this way: about 1,000 people die of construction related accidents a year, 5,000 die of suicide. And by the way, 14,000 die of overdoses.
Wow.
Um,
Think of that. I mean, to our listeners, this is a statistic that you need to take seriously. Obviously, if you've followed us this far into this episode, you have keen interest in this. So, in addition to emotional intelligence training and awareness as they come beside to suicide prevention and mental health well-being, what other shifts have you noticed that affect job site productivity, employee retention, that sort of thing? And how does it tie in with EI, if at all?
well, I think it does. And to me, it comes down to human connection.
Boy, yeah.
So we've never really been great at that human connection part of our business, but we're now seeing the result of that. And I think those are all related. Human lack of human connection, isolation, not really focusing on the people stuff first, I think relates to workforce development. I think relates to diversity and inclusion. I think relates to mental health and well-being. And so we have to find more ways to connect as humans. And emotional intelligence is sort of the foundation for that, being better at those human connections. So that's what my focus has been the last few years is how do we connect better as humans? And what are the elements that really drive that? And how can we incorporate that more into our cultures and more into our workspaces every day? Right.
I love that. And you've been so generous over the many years, not only with the Construction Users Roundtable, but with us at the University of Cincinnati, as you've taught and enlightened these young adults as to the importance of emotional intelligence on their job sites that they'll inevitably manage. Uh, what are the key elements that a company has to present or agree to in order for emotional intelligence training to be effective? What are the
Oh,
prerequisites?
well, that's a great question. And I always tell companies, you got to be ready for this. You have to. I remember I was working with this guy from Poland. He was a Skanska employee, and he was going to work on his empathy. And he went back to his boss and he said, "Hey, I'm working on empathy." And his boss said, "No, you're not, because that's just weakness, and we don't show weakness in Poland here. So you can just forget about that." So you have to make sure your culture is aligned with the work. The other thing is you'll see that things may get worse before they get better, because people, once they get that awareness, they're going to say, wait a minute, I want to be treated differently. I want to connect in a different way. And so you may get some issues that pop up as a result. And some people may leave. If your culture doesn't support this work, they're going to say, you know what? My eyes have opened. I'm going to look for a company that values these things. So that's another issue. And we always tell companies, you got to be ready for this and you got to embrace this. And we always tell them start with the top leaders so that they go through everything first and then filter it down through the company so that everybody, and we took this one company, Jacobson Construction out in Salt Lake, all 235 of their employees from top leader CEO down to the foreman level through a year-long training process with emotional intelligence and all the people skills, and it changed their culture completely. It was amazing to watch the shift.
So the good news is with the right attention and the right set of prerequisites, let's call them, EI can have a terrific impact on productivity, on employee satisfaction,
Yes.
effectiveness at the project level, and even from the C-suite on down. That's what I'm hearing
Yes.
the outcomes of a good EI awareness and training program can result in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other element is it has to be ongoing. You have to reinforce this because you can't just do a one and done. Like people tell me all the time, we do these year-long programs and they'll say, "Hey, can you do that year-long program? But we don't have the time. So could you do a lunch and learn? We'll buy pizza. We'll have 2 hours and just get everybody all squared away on their emotional intelligence." It doesn't work that way because emotional intelligence, it's not like cognitive learning. It's more like learning to play a musical instrument or learning a language. It takes a lot of time and repetition and application and coaching and follow up. And without that, you don't really get the change. And then if you don't do it ongoing, you will tend to fall back into old behaviors and patterns, especially under times of stress. So we recommend a yearly check-in where everybody evaluates. We see, okay, what's changed in your life and work? What do you want to focus on now? And then create plans for the coming year and make that just a lifelong learning thing.
So in addition to empathy, when you talk about the alpha male, what are the greatest or what are the biggest, most challenging barriers to change when it comes to, okay, now I have an awareness, but the dog has caught the car and doesn't know what to do with it? What are the
Uh,
greatest barriers to change?
I've seen that. It's I think the greatest barrier is just it's just between your ears, really. Because people ask me all the time, hey, what percentage of people actually create positive change for these programs? And I say, you know what, for people that want to create change, it's 100%. People that don't want to create change, it's 0%. It's a pretty simple formula. But see, a lot of the people that I get, especially one-on-one coaching, they're the quote problem children, right? They've got some issues that people are noticing, so they send them to me, and I just tell these folks, look, I'm not going to change you. This is just a different set of skills that you need to succeed. That's all this is. And once they get that, and that it's about performance, and it's about really being more effective in your job every day. That's what alphas are all about. How can I be better, right? And then the cool thing about the alphas is once they decide that's what they want, they work their tails off to make those changes. They read tons of books. They apply it every day. They bring everybody in on the process and say, "Hey, I'm working on my empathy. If I'm not showing empathy, let me know." They're really diligent about creating the change as an alpha would be, right? They want to be the best at this, and they get great results.
So, what are the top two or three or four elements of an EI transition journey? You mentioned empathy, you mentioned the ability to collaborate. What are some of the other key components of an EI transformation, for lack of a better term?
Right. Our mantra for that is this: daily application, daily reflection. So if you can um, if you can apply what we're learning daily and then reflect on that learning every evening or the next morning and see what did I do well, what can I tweak, that's a really huge element. The other thing is have a bunch of accountability built in. We have a 360 accountability partner list that we do. Bring all your accountability partners, let them know what you're working on, and make sure that they understand what you're working on and help you and coach you. So you have number one, we have say a written plan, daily application, daily reflection, lots of accountability and follow up, and then coaching as required. Those are the elements that actually create lasting behavioral change.
So, Brent, AI is really feels like a runaway train these days, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it's going to have an implication in the construction industry and on the workforce. What impact do you see AI having on the construction industry workforce? And is there any kind of touch point on emotional intelligence relative to AI?
Yeah. I think AI is a vital tool, but it's just that it's a tool. It's not a magic something. So, and it only puts out what you put in and how you ask those questions. So if we're asking in terms of just transactional, strategic kind of stuff, that's what you're going to get out. So I think we need to infuse whatever artificial intelligence we're creating with compassion and empathy and the ability to connect out, in that way. And I think that'll make it much more effective. So I think again, it's just a tool, and it can do a lot of really cool stuff, but it can't replace human beings yet. We haven't gotten into singularity yet. But if you're a human, you're going to be able to be more creative than an AI, any AI. You're going to be more intuitive. You're going to be able to connect with other humans better. That they haven't figured out yet. They can mimic it pretty good, but they can't figure it out. So I'd say let's make sure we use it as a tool and not as a replacement for people working together and creating these wonderful projects, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing I always tell, there's lots of great platforms and technology and ways people are working now. And the thing about that is I always tell these technology folks, if you don't train people on the human connection part of that technology, it's for nothing. Because I mean, technology can allow you to hate people faster with more anonymity, right? If you allow it to do that. So you have to have the human connection first, and then use the tool that allows you to communicate better. And if you do those backwards, then your technology is going to fail, and then you'll blame the technology. And it's not about the technology at all. It's about the people.
So, do you think that the whole concept of emotional intelligence has changed much since you first delved into this space a quarter of a century ago? And if so, what does EI 2.0 look like?
Oh wow. I think it definitely has changed because I mean, in 25 years, when I first started this, they looked at me like I had three heads. They really did. I mean, it was like, what? Like, why would we ever do anything like that? That was the reaction for many companies and organizations. And quite frankly, I mean, there's still those people out there. I struggle on a weekly basis with relevancy. I always ask myself, do people really want this? I don't think some of them do, but I think they need it. And I think, again, look at how far we've come. Look at the change in the industry for collaboration, relationship driven projects. It's massive, and it's a different set of skills. So I think it's getting some momentum actually. And the 2.0 version is to just have everybody be aware of this human connection aspect. One of the coaching mantras I give for a lot of these guys I'm working with, mostly guys, is start with the human. You know, we live in such a transactional world in this industry, and if we can go beyond that and connect as humans, we're going to get more people that want to come in here. We're going to have more successful projects. We're going to have better health and well-being. We're going to have less mental health issues because people know that when they come in here, they're going to be accepted, connected, loved, nurtured, and honored in some way.
One final question, and that is, what is one book that you feel, or a couple that you feel people should read if they want to know more about this subject, in addition to the people profit connection, which we talked about earlier in the show? A couple.
Yeah. The people profit connection is a good start, especially if you're in the industry. It really gives you all the typical profiles and what they mean and how it relates to industry issues. But I like to stick with the classics. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Carnegie's a great book. Seven Habits of Highly Effective People is a great book, except for the weekly worksheet, which is now irrelevant. You can't schedule everything every 15 minutes in your day. You have to be more flexible. But other than that, that is a great book by Covey. And those two are awesome. Also, for the alphas out there, if you're wondering, hey, where should I start? What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith. Excellent book. It's the skills that have gotten you to this point in your career no longer serve you. It's a different set of skills going forward.
Well, we've been talking to subject matter expert on emotional intelligence, Mr. Brent Darnell, longtime friend of the Construction Users Roundtable, highly sought after speaker around the country and frankly around the world. You've been to how many countries over your
I've worked in 21 different countries so
21
far.
different countries? So we're very delighted to have him on this session of Construction Connections. If you have more questions about this topic or you'd like to know more about Kurt, then please phone our office or access our website. That'll appear in just a few minutes. We'd like to thank you for joining us, Construction Connections, powered by Kurt, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Brent, thank you so much for being with us.
Craig, my pleasure. Thank you.